Hello, everybody. This is the Mechanics of Money. This is Dyron Bush. This is the ninth episode. I'm really excited about this. Let me go ahead and read the disclaimer. This podcast is for educational purposes and discussion only. Nothing you hear here should be taken as financial advice, investment advice, or recommendations to buy or sell securities. I am sharing my opinion, research, and analysis, not instruction. Now, what we're going to go over now is the three T's, right? We're going to go over the three T's, and we all know what are the three T's. The three T's are the taxes, tools, and the truth, right? In this particular case, we're going to go over the tools and the truth. Now, I got some exciting things to discuss. I graduated. I received my MBA. If you watch my former podcast, I was talking about how I was having problems. You know, uh, uh, Achieving my MBA. I had a lot of obstacles in my way. Some of the obstacles were is that I was rendered disabled to a certain degree by two. I had two drunk driving accidents that I survived. Right, I actually survived those two accidents. Um, Also, I survived a two week hospital stay. How about that? Where I almost missed one of my final exams, one of my classes, and Grand Canyon University was gracious enough to hold my exam. They literally said we will hold the exam as long as it takes. That's how adamant they were and supportive of me to allow me to go ahead and take my exams when they heard I was in the hospital. I want to send a. I also had some computer problems too, which was really frustrating. To be in graduate school and encountering these strange anomalies and stuff like that. But I want to reach out to Grand Canyon University and all the professors. They were all very professional, and they gave me a grade A education over there. I really appreciate it. All the students were very supportive. I learned a lot from the students, from the discussion board discussions. The professors were very interactive. On the discussion boards, they challenged you when you said something. They challenged you what you said. They made you prove it. So it was very good. A very good experience. I would recommend going to Grand Canyon University for anybody that wants to learn about conscious capitalism, which is a little different than what you would learn at other business schools in the sense that they teach you how the societal effect on that management has on society, right? So seeing people, not using people as a means to an end, but working with society side by side in order to have a greater union, right? It's some things I want to get out the way. I want to thank my junior high teacher that taught me free enterprise. I want to thank her. I want to thank my first accounting teacher, Mr. Rob, who really made me the person I am today. He challenged me, and I used to just show you how times have changed. We used to do teachers' taxes back in high school. So you can just kind of wrap your mind around it, and if you don't understand what I'm saying, try to think about the calamity that would be caused if students did teachers' taxes today, right? So also I want to thank Miss Green, that was also my math middle school teacher. She challenged me a lot. There's other teachers along the way, and excuse me if I don't remember the name right off. Um, but a lot of teachers helped me along the way to get to this point. I want to thank all my professors at Xavier University, in particular Mr. Murphy, Chuck, Mr. Wright, Batista, Das, Professor Hawkins, who probably went on to earn his PhD. I want to send a shout out to different areas of the country and the world, right? I'm dealing with people in India. I met a gentleman from Panama. I know people in New York, Florida, Arizona, the UK. all these particular areas, they know me and they refer. They indicate they know me, whether it be from podcasts or on my website or my blog, and they all refer to me as a tax man. So I thank everybody for wishing me well, and let's go on with the podcast. Yes. Okay. Now we're going to go over some of the things that we're going to discuss in the slide. We're going to talk about the GFC 2.0 macro markets and the system risks. First, we're going to talk about the multiple system stress signals converging. Then we're going to talk about the liquidity, leverage, and confidence. And then we're going to talk about the timing matters more than prediction. The frame to frame this as a system analysis, not as a doomsday forecast. Historically, financial crises occur when liquidity tightens, while leverage remains high and confidence breaks. This presentation focuses on the qualifiable stress points across labor, industry, and banking and markets. Okay, next we're going to talk about corporate stress and layoff agendas. More than a 1.5, 1.5, 1.53 million U.S. jobs have been announced year to year job cuts, right? With October alone up 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 roughly of 183% month over month. This mirrors late cycle behavior seen in 2000 and 2007. This is right before the GFC, right? GFC. The concentration is middle management and supports the thesis that AI and margin compression are accelerating white collar displacement. And I think this is very important. We're going to discuss this, right? Because the thing is that no longer are corporations laying off people merely because they're trying to save on margins, right? The thing is that what you have is the advent of AI that's taking over jobs. Now, people are not paying attention. This is important. People are not paying attention to these layoffs and jobs because people are just looking at these jobs and they're assuming that these jobs that are being lost are blue collar jobs. The problem is that these jobs are white collar jobs, and the impact is going to be substantial because the fall from grace from a lot of these people are going to be really high. You have people that have mortgages that are $5,000 a month, car notes that are $1,200 a month, and now they're going to zero. Right? They only have 3 months worth of savings, if anything at all. Right? They were living check to check already. What we know, Americans don't have any savings already. So this is pretty substantial, right? We see YouTube has gone through some restructuring. They also we talked about the layoffs of 1.53 million year to date layoffs. Also the 183 month to month job cuts, right? And then again middle management. So these are 4 points I wanted to touch upon. Now we have the deindustrialization of the UK, the UA, and Germany, right? UK manufacturing output has declined approximately 15% since 2019, largely due to energy costs. Vehicle production is down around 30% year to year. Germany's manufacturers PMI has remained below 45, indicating sustained contraction. Surveys suggest that, and this is very significant, suggests that 680,000 UK jobs are considering relocating operations. Yeah, so what you're seeing is a global slowdown, right? We're seeing a global slowdown. So we're seeing the economy slowly slowing down right before our eyes, right? We're seeing the layoffs, we're seeing the slowdown. Um, so this is quite interesting. This is quite interesting. Next, we're going to talk about the market valuations and Buffett warning. Um, Equity valuations remain elevated despite tightened liquidity. The Buffett indicated near 200% historically collides with the major market drawdown. Cape at 33 implies long-term return compression, and Buffett's sitting on 381 billion in cash reserve reflects optionality, not bearishness. Now, the thing is that it's important to understand that the Buffett indicator is at its highest level in history, right? So again, as some people talk about the S&P 500, they're saying, well, the S&P, how is the market going to crash? How are we going to have a correction if the market is hitting historical highs? Yes, it's hitting historical highs, but it's not supposed to. That's what everybody's saying. How is this sustainable if the Buffett indicator clearly states that all these stocks are overvalued? You know, that's where we are right now. Okay, let's go over the history of the crashes and recoveries with the stock market, right, in the economy. The market declines are statistically frequent, and not anomalies. The critical variables is liquidity survival during drawdowns. Historically, forced deleveraging defines the bottom, not valuation alone. So basically, we had 15 recessions, 27 bear markets over the last 100 years. The average decline is about 35%. This is something that you could gauge to see where we would be, where we kind of reside at in the next correction, right? Look at the average and then just see what's going on, right? The average bear duration is 9 to 10 months, and the average rebound year is year one is 44%. Next, we're going to talk about liquidity, plumbing, the RRP, and reserved SOFR. $50 billion 60-day move in reverse repo signals acute stress. Banks' reserves have fallen by 1 trillion from peak levels, and the SOFR volatility reflects counterparty risks, while the near exhaustion of the RRP removes a key liquidity buffer. So, not too long ago, the RRP took a drop, a spike of $50 billion, right? It was dropping close to zero, and then all of a sudden, the banks had chose to take a $50 billion withdrawal, right? Of $50 billion for liquidity. The bank's reserves are down by $1 trillion from its peak, and the RRP is near the RRP balance is near $3 billion. Okay, what you see here is what I call the B Swim report. Again, the B Swim report is what Warren Buffett refers to as what happens when we have a problem with liquidity, right? With liquidity, he likened it to when you have drawback before a tsunami, right? So when the drawback comes, it when liquidity, he likens it to liquidity drying up, and when that happens, it exposes a lot of things, right? It exposes a lot of Ponzi schemes, different kind of precarious situations where banks might be in over leveraged, and because liquidity, where they will be able to rob Peter to pay Paul, they can't do that anymore because the liquidity is kind of dried up, right? So here's the B Swim report. It's kind of in an easy to understand kind of format as it relates to the red light, the yellow light, and the green light, right? So green light, some of the samples are is the large scale semiconductors. You see that? That's green. The Buffett indicator is yellow, right? It's yellow because it's at 200%, right? The reverse repo is red. It's definitely red. FDIC coverage is red too. The Reserve Bank, the banks don't have the necessary reserves to cover your savings. How about that? Yeah. So that's basically it. Next, we're going to discuss credit freeze sequence, right? This is a sequence in which the credit freezes. The credit squeeze mirrors 2008 and the 2019 repo crisis. Credit contraction precedes earning collapse. Bail-in emerges when bailouts become politically and financially infeasible, right? So what does this all mean? What this means is that we've gone down this road before, right? We've been down the road, whether it be the savings and loan crisis, whether it's be the GFC. So we've gone down this road different at different times where there was bailouts, right? But the sentiment for bailouts are not politically correct right now, right? A lot of people are not in the mood to be bailing out banks anymore, banks and hedge funds, right? So what is on the menu? What's on the menu is bail-ins, right? And for those who don't know what a bail-in is, bail-in means is that banks actually take your deposits to pay off their debts. Now, some people might scoff at that. Again, you got to be careful when you scoff at things. These things happen. These things happen, and they can do these things legally. They can take your deposits and use it to pay towards their debts. They can do that, right? So it happens in other countries. It really does. You know, if you look around, I could do some additional research, and we can discuss this again. Let's talk about it on my channel, right? You put something in my discussion board, and we'll talk about it. You know, and there is precedence, right? Other countries do bail in, right? They do take your deposits. They do freeze your accounts. It does happen. Okay, so first, first what happens is the rate hikes, then the RRP surges, then you have the credit freeze, and then you have bank failures, and then you have the bail-ins, right? Which is a result of the bank failures. Okay, now we were talking about bail-ins, so we're going to get our hands dirty a little bit, right? We're going to delve into a little deeper. We're going to talk about bail-in and derivatives, how they're related to derivatives. All right, so we got bail-in derivative risk. The scale mismatch is the core risk. 223 trillion of notional derivatives versus 27 trillion in GDP. The FDIC insurance is mathematically insufficient in the system event. Bail-ins become arithmetic and not theory, right? So what does that all mean, right? So let's do the math, right? Let's do the math, right? You know, I got my shiny new MBA, and let's put it to work. Let's put it to work, right? Let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens. So now we have bank derivatives that are 223 trillion dollars in notional value. This is a type of debt that U.S. banks and hedge funds are sitting on, right? Derivative debt, right? Um, and what derivatives are bets, right? They're bets on different things, right? This is a more simplistic example of what they are, but they're basically bets, right? They're financial bets. But the problem is that this $223 trillion of notional debt that the banks have is 20 times the U.S. GDP. 20 times, right? That's how bad it is, right? Now, the thing is that we're worried about bail-ins or bailouts. We're worried about bailouts. Where is the money going to come from, right? We're worried about bailouts. You know, so not only does the country doesn't have the stomach for bailouts, but where is the money going to come from, right? Understanding that the M2 money supply is only 22 trillion, right? So where is the 223 trillion going to come from in terms of bailing out the banks? It's not there, right? It's not there. We don't have it. The FDIC, which is even more troubling, the FDIC only has 1.3% ability to cover the deposit. They can only cover the money that they can cover is only 1.3% of all the deposits in the country. How about that? Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to talk about shadow banking, right, and hedge funds. The subprime auto lenders that filed Chapter 11. These are the three lenders that recently, surprisingly, right, had filed Chapter 11. It's First Brand Group, Tricolor Auto Group, and American Car Center. And some of the problems is that they're redemptions, right? And what redemptions are, again, if you don't know what redemptions are, it's basically a run on the bank. It's anything right before a run on the bank. People are basically redemptions are people asking for their money back, and the hedge funds are having the same problem too. But what they do is the hedge fund put a backstop on it, right? They say you can get your money back, but you can only take it out in percentages, right? You can only take it out at certain times. You can take it out quarterly, right? Because otherwise they would have no liquidity at all, right? Understanding that they have $223 trillion in notional value debt. I mean, a lot of people would be heading towards the door, right? But you can't really do that, right? They use a backstop to stop you from running towards the door, right? They stop you from taking your money out of the hedge funds and out of the banks, and they prevent you from doing that, right? So, fair or not, well, we don't know, but that's just how the system works. But these particular shadow banks just went under. They just filed Chapter 11, which is kind of Bear Stearns-esque, right? Right. This is kind of what happened when Bear Stearns went under, right? This kind of things with the problem with the shadow banks starting to file Chapter 11, and it's happening in succession, right? And when one did it, the other one did it as well. So we'll see what happens. Okay, we have market manipulation and structure. The structural weakness emerged during stress. If multiple parties believe they own the same share, a settlement failure becomes inevitable. Market rules historically change during crisis. So basically what we're talking about is naked shorting, spoofing. All these things are going on in the market, right? Michael Burry brought up a very interesting point, right? That happened to him with GME, right? He bought some GME shares. He probably bought a very large lot of GME shares, and maybe he was just curious, right? He did something. Now the hedge funds always say that we don't naked short. We don't create fake shares or whatever, But um, Michael Burry did something interesting. So what he did was he bought the shares and he asked for the actual share, right? I mean, if you purchase the share, then you should be able to get it, right? You should be able to have the actual share in your hand. Should be able to get it in your hand, right? So it took them literally months to get the shares that he needed, the actual paperwork that he needed to get his shares, right? And the reason why it took them so long, you would think they'd be able to instantaneously give him the shares, is because they had to locate them, right? They don't know where they are, right? They don't know. They probably purchased some shares off somebody else and gave it to Michael Burry, right? So that's the kind of stuff that's going on. I mean, is it fair that you have to wait 3 months, or if ever, to receive shares that are fake, are not real? It isn't. I'll let you decide. We can discuss in our discussion board. Okay. Now we're going over housing and consumers, right? Housing, auto, and consumers. Consumer stress has moved up the income ladder. Vehicles repossessions have nearly doubled year over year, rising delinquency and foreshadow securitized credit losses. Okay, and you can see here a lot of these statistics here that we are seeing increases across the board, right? Okay, let's talk about the global stress signals, right? Let's see what's going on overseas. We talked about the UK a little bit. Let's talk about China. China's having a lot of problems right now. Chinese properties collapse, and Japan's decline real wages reduce global demand. And currency experimentation accelerates when confidence is in reserve systems weaken. Now, keep in mind, China has been injecting money into the economy hand over fist, and they're trying to create demand, but the demand is not there. You can clearly see number two, China's GDP has been weak for 10 quarters straight. 10 quarters. How about that, right? And China's new home sales are down 40%. Okay? So they're having a lot of problems. Again, when one country gets sick, the other countries catch a cold. We're in a global economy now, right? My company is currently global, right? I'm doing business in India. I might be doing some business in Panama. So it's we're all connected now. There's a semiconductor company in Texas, the TSMC. The initial budget was $17 billion, but it blossomed to $50 billion because they went from making um, transistors from 4 nanometers to 2 nanometers to even smaller. Um, they also had to make a specialized air filtration system. They had to make sure that the ground didn't make certain vibrations, and they had to have a filtration system with the water. All these things they needed to do, which blew their budget out of the water to be able to make these small semiconductor type devices for computers. It was quite amazing. It's in the company's in the facility is one of the world's largest in Texas. Okay. Next, we have investor positioning signals. Institutional investors reduce exposure before public acknowledgement. These positioning signals historically precede volatility spikes. We'll go over the list here. A majority of banks forecast at least a 20% correction. Buffett's sitting on a regular amount of cash. Michael Burry's multi-billion-dollar put exposure, and we're going to discuss that in the final notes. Michael Burry's put exposure, and hedge funds exits is accelerating. Hedge funds are exiting positions at an accelerated rate. Okay, now it's time for final thoughts. Again, you can go to my website at www.taxplantoday.today. I think we're getting ready to change our website, so it's down right now, but we're getting ready to put it back up probably within the next week or so. Um, we specialize in taxation, tax planning, and bookkeeping. My phone number is 832-453-7260. Um, Make sure you like, subscribe, and share my video. I'm getting a lot of play, again, all over the world, whether it be in the UK, Arizona, um, whether it be New York, Florida, all around the world. I'm getting a lot of play. India, a lot of people are starting to acknowledge I'm starting to win a lot of awards as being recognized as an innovative CEO, especially in the realm of AI. I'm also We're working on software right now that's going to revolutionize the accounting field. So we're doing that right now. There's two more points I want to make, and then I'm going to sign off. Again, I want to thank, 3 points. Again, I want to thank everybody for supporting me, for getting my MBA. That's one. Two, I want to talk about what happened with Michael Burry. There was a faction of people that actually rooted and cheered for the fact that Michael Burry closed down his hedge fund. Right. The thing is that I think there's a misnomer associated to why Michael Burry closed down his hedge fund after putting that $1 billion put out on AI stocks, right? The thing is three particular things that could have happened to Michael Burry, and that he made that clear of why he closed his puts down. It wasn't that he made a bad bet. You can be right and wrong at the same time in the stock market, similar to how the stock market is kind of schizophrenic right now, right? It's going up to exponential highs on the S&P 500, but yet 95% of the stocks are crashing right now, right? So you can be right and wrong at the same time, and I'm explaining this in detail, right? The first thing is a couple of things could have happened to Michael Burry. Three things in particular, right? With that put. For one, he could have got caught in the trade, right? He could have got caught in the trade because of the volatility of the stock, right? of the puts, right? Or he could have got caught with the margin, right? He would have been forced out of the play because of the margin volatility, and then he would have ended up losing a lot of money that he put into the play, right? And then the third, which is the worst of all, is that he could have maybe not even got paid anyway, because whichever AI stock that would have potentially gone under, meaning that he would never get paid, right? So he saw that as all his viable possibilities. So he got out of the play. It's not so much that he made the wrong decision; he was right. But the thing is that it's just a volatile play, right? So it doesn't make any sense to put yourself in these situations where you might not even get paid, even though you're right, right? Even though you're potentially right. I mean, Warren Buffett agrees with Michael Burry, so he is right, right? So and then the last I want to talk about my quote, the quote of the day. I wonder how the economic precept of margin utility is measured, faced with the lack of satiation with the goal of greed. So basically, what I'm talking about with that quote, and this is my quote, I made this right. Basically, what I'm talking about what this quote is that margin utility measures at the point of where you have equilibrium, right? At the point where you're satisfied, the satiation, right? That's an economic precept that you learn in economics, right? But I often I quib, right? I quib and I wonder. I wonder what happens. How do you measure greed, right? Because there's never enough, right? Gordon Gekko says greed is good, right? I mean, there's never enough. You're never satisfied with greed, right? So I just throw that out there for food of thought. We can discuss this in our discussion board. And you have a nice day. And thanks again for everybody supporting me.